Welcome to Porcelain Peak, a strange and scary podcast dissecting all things horror and sci-fi. Here are your hosts, or what's left of them. Tone, John, and Anthony. Enjoy the trivia while you can.
Well, my favorite Spice Girl is Shitty Spice.
Anyway, welcome to season 4 of Porcelain Peak. We got a great episode for you.
Yeah,
How do I know? I don't.
Happy Predens Day, my
Predens
dudes.
Day. We're doing Predator Part 1.
Predator.
First, we're doing some news.
Yeah.
Then we're going to play new trivia. So if you're like, oh, we love the trivia segment, it's going to be all new.
If you love watching us fumble to figure out playing a new game, you're in for luck. You're
Yeah.
in for luck. You're in for a treat.
Started off great. Then we're going to talk about Predator 2,
Predator
and
2.
Predators. We decided
Predators.
to split it up a little bit because 5 movies was just too much. Even though some
We've
of these
done
we could have
before.
brushed right through.
Yeah, but all in anticipation of Predator dropping by the time you hear this last week.
Pray.
That's right. Yeah, just a couple days ago. And then for our final cut, we are going to be doing a much, I don't know.
We're doing a cleansing.
Awaited
We're doing a
watch list,
cleansing
yeah.
of all the other shit that we've been watching that isn't related to this show.
So it's going to be so good. Stay tuned, and we'll get started with that chop talk. Are we doing voices now?
Andy Dufresne walked through it.
We're never doing that voice. I'll do Sling Blade.
Maybe I'll bring you a pizza. Maybe I'll break off your arm.
The main discussion.
Why don't you take an axe and chop it open?
All right. Well, hey, John, Anthony, how are you guys? Sick.
I actually had a very frightening life flash before my eyes and this other person's eyes moment today because when I told my sister this story, I said I hit a man with my car today. In reality, I lightly bumped a man on a bike and knocked him over.
Jet out in front of you?
Yeah, so I was pulling over to get on the freeway. Dude comes cruising right out. Didn't even see him because he was cruising on a bike. And you guys know, I drive a clown car. So luckily, it was just me basically like, into him.
Yeah.
And he toppled over, but I still freaked the fuck out.
Yeah.
Immediately pulled over. Like, yeah, ran into my car like, oh my dear Jesus Christ, are you okay? And I was just like, hey man, you okay? And he was on the ground like freaked out, of course. So he was like, what the fuck? And I was like, are you okay? And he got up and he was like, fine. And then he was very much more concerned about whether his bike frame or rim was bent, which I totally understand. And he rolled it and he was like, okay, thank God it's good. And I was like, hey, I'm so sorry. I didn't see you. And he was like, no, I shouldn't have come out that fast like that. Like I wasn't watching. And I was like, hey, both of our bads. And I was just like, bike safe. I'll watch a little bit more carefully while I'm driving. And then we fist bumped and went our separate ways. And it was the best way that situation could have turned out because, first of all, obviously, the man was okay.
Yeah.
Second of all, his bike was okay. And third of all,
You're like,
I was a little shaken up, but I was all right.
Like, third of all, I had to go back home, change my underpants.
Oh, yeah.
I
was.
hit a guy on a bike.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he just was like, and then just took off. And I was like,
Well, I told him, I was like, hey, man, I totally understand the number of times I've almost been hit by cars on my bike. Like, because I used to bike a ton. Like, I was like, I understand. Like, it's scary. And so I was like, we'll both just keep a better eye out, you know, when we're biking around in the city. But, yeah, that was very scary. So, other than that, I'm doing fantastic because I didn't kill anybody.
Like, I didn't kill anybody, and I'm wearing clean underwear right now.
Oh, yeah, I did shitted my pants.
I'm doing fine. Very uneventful period of time right now. Just been watching Predator movies.
You have been riveted?
So riveted.
good. That's happy to hear it.
I'm doing good, though.
No, you're bringing the fire, and I appreciate it.
Oh, yeah.
All right, well, some news. I'm going to start off with a little bit of us news. The movie that we're working on, and we're still working on it,
I thought you were talking about Jordan Peele's Us.
No, us, the royal us.
Get out.
Nope. Anyway, my shit's done.
Yeah.
Anthony's shit's done, and John has a new idea, and it has begun. So
It has a gun that shoots bees.
yeah,
It has bee gun. Yeah, I'm excited because this is a very, at this point, kind of still nebulous idea with some cool inspiration. So I'm happy that you have an idea and that we can all work together to flesh it out. It's also been long enough since I wrote my first draft of my script or my screenplay or whatever they call it in the industry in Hollywood, that I want to go back to it now and like look at it with fresh eyes. And I haven't had a chance to read yours yet because I've wanted a time where I wouldn't have distractions. I also saw it's like 5 pages long, so it's going to take me at least take me at least like a few days to get through 5 pages, man.
5 whole pages.
When's the last time I read shit? Oh,
it's quick. It's a quickie.
yeah.
It's like me in bed.
So, do you want to get into some industry news?
Yeah,
Let's do this thing.
Well, that was industry.
Oh, yeah. Something else that I wanted to mention is that we did get a comment. Well, we got a couple comments recently that I wanted to shout out. One is from Sandy, one of our new listeners, my dad's girlfriend. She heard about the podcast. She wanted to set it up so she could listen to it in her car, which is why I got us on Amazon Music. So that she could do that.
That's right.
And she sent us a really nice comment the other day about how she listened to the one or both of the Jurassic episodes on a long drive, and she said she had a blast and that both her and my dad were in the car like shouting the trivia with us. And I was like, that's classic Porcelain Peak. Everybody talks about shouting at the trivia.
That's what we need.
Yeah, it's everybody's favorite part. And she was like, yeah, you guys keep me entertained on long drives, and that's hard to do. So she that was very cool. And then Steven, I wanted to give a shout out for being, as we predicted, probably the only person to listen to our Patreon bonus commentary for Matthew Broderick, Roland Emmerich's Godzilla. He, the next day after we released it, I think, sent me a message saying that you got him pretty good with your
Clowned him.
Yeah, with your D's nuts joke or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And then we also added a new subscriber over on YouTube, Spencer Swan. So thanks.
Oh hey, I know Spencer.
Oh,
that's a real person that I know in real life.
Hell yeah.
So sweet. Thanks, Spencer.
Yeah, thanks, Spencer. That's all I got for that part.
Cool.
Industry news.
Yeah, industry news. So I'll start out with some smaller stuff before we get into what's probably the biggest news to happen in the last couple days, because that's going to be a little bit of a discussion. Real quickly, the Alien series, Noah Hawley's Alien series, the guy who did The Fargo show and Legion, is going into production next year. The scripts are apparently all done and all turned in, so not a bunch of news, but basically it's coming at some point. It's happening. Also, I picked this news for a couple of reasons, but Rebecca McKendry, she was on the Shockwaves podcast.
Yeah.
She has a movie dropping on the 18th of this month that is called Glorious, and it is
She has a movie
that she directed.
Okay.
Coming to Shudder called Glorious, and the premise is J.K. Simmons voices a Lovecraftian monster that inhabits a glory hole.
Full stop. You don't have to say anything else about it.
J.K. Simmons.
As a glory hole, my dream come true.
Your dream coming true.
Yeah, and I'll be like, you rushing or are you dragging?
Dragging these nuts across your face.
Ooh, got him, doggy. The Haunted Mansion. You guys heard about this? You guys seen this?
Didn't they just do a Muppets Haunted Mansion?
They did for Disney Plus. But that, unless you're a big, I don't want to insult any Muppets fans here, but we're talking about the legit, real Haunted Mansion movie right now.
All right.
Obviously, the sequel to the Eddie Murphy one. No, I know for a long time that Guillermo del Toro was supposed to be doing this. I don't think he's involved. I think he likes to just mention that he wants to do things, and then for years we wait for it to happen, and then he comes out with Nightmare Alley. So
yeah,
but his new Pinocchio movie looks pretty dope from the trailer that I saw. Anywho, Jared Leto, Hatbox Ghost. How do you feel about that?
Take it or leave
I
it.
thought that he was a weirdo. Why do people keep hiring him?
Because he is great looking for a 50-year-old, and he runs a cult, so they probably got their fingers in everything,
including each other. And then what was the other one? There was a
Jamie Lee Curtis as is it Madame Leota? Yeah, the head in the ball. Which I'm obviously much more excited about Jamie Lee Curtis being in anything. The weirder it is, the better. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, being a prime example. Never thought I would see her as a tax collector, but I enjoyed that. Or an IRS agent.
Speaking of Everything Everywhere All at Once, though, that is one of our Todd Browning nominations, so this is as good time as any to mention that the survey to cast your votes is available now. We can probably link it.
Yep, it is currently in the description of this episode in either audio or video platform, so feel free to cast your votes.
And now that I'm thinking about it, I'll also throw it in our bio on Instagram, so you can also check it out there.
Yeah, keep voting.
Yeah.
Voting now. Voting.
Or die.
Do you have any other news before we get into the big Warner Brothers news?
I thought I might have something, and I forgot.
Well, you just watched the trailer for it, but the Spirit Halloween store, the first movie trailer came out.
Mm-hmm.
And both of us kind of said, yeah, it's just an ad for Spirit Halloween stores.
Pretty much.
It looks cheap. It looks dumb, but it also does kind of look like
So it's the Spirit Halloween
so
stuff.
it looks like a Spirit Halloween.
That seems to be the response online is like 50-50 of like a lot of people are saying, "Oh, I was hoping for something really scary," and then a lot of people
were
were like,
making a Spirit Halloween movie and thought it was going to be anything but exactly what this trailer shows, which is they had they got a department store, filled it with all of Spirit Halloween shit, and went, let's put some kids in there at night.
If you want anything relatively close to what you just asked for, go watch Haunt. Haunt was fun.
Yeah, if you want
that
something.
Black Friday movie we never watched. Is that in a store?
Oh, I don't. Oh, yeah, with
Campbell?
Bruce Campbell, yeah. Or if you want something that is like a more adult, more like horror themed Goosebumps, go watch the Fear Street movies. Those are decent.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for it because we obviously grew up with horror for children, and now it's kind of making a comeback.
Yeah, if kids like it, then it's done its job, really. Like, I don't really... If you're that invested in a Spirit Halloween movie and you're like 30 years old or whatever, then maybe you need to like double check your relationship with the Halloween holiday
Yeah.
and like how invested you are in it. But and that's coming from a guy who fucking loves Halloween. The biggest news, the earth-shattering, industry-breaking news that dropped, and I'm not even exaggerating here, is that Warner Brothers announced that they are just straight up canceling, scrapping, trashing the basically done $70 to $90 million Batgirl movie. This movie was going to have Brendan Fraser as the villain, Firefly.
Ooh.
Which I did not realize until I was reading the news about this. It was going to have Michael Keaton for what's rumored to be about 5 minutes of Batman time.
Right on. Do we know who Batgirl was?
Yeah, her name is Leslie Grace. So she was going to be the Latinx representation that the world kind of needs right now, and then that's kind of pisses me off that, we may not get that. So there's been a lot of... So not only did they cancel and shelf this, which means this movie is not going to theaters, it's not going to streaming, it's just going to disappear.
Why, though? Like, wouldn't they want to make a little bit of money?
Well, they can use it as a tax write-off, is what most people have reported, is that they would actually probably take less of a hit if they just write the movie off as a tax write-off.
Wow.
Both that and the Scoob sequel that was also basically finished or in production, they scrapped both of them and said that they're not being released. Scoob! Yeah.
So here's the deal. And this is probably why you thought there would be a discussion, because there totally will be, because this movie cost $90 million to make.
$90, dude.
$90 million to make.
Yeah.
They're going to scrap it, use it as a tax write-off, whatever. That's all neither here nor there, but how the fuck much did The Flash cost? Where they're at the point where they are where they literally feel like they have to release it, even though Ezra Miller is like a piece of shit, like bona fide. Like if you I don't want to watch a movie with them in it. Like it just doesn't make sense for me.
No, I totally agree. Yeah. It makes no sense. So a large part of this also comes down to Warner Brothers restructuring right now, pretty much entirely new management because of their merger with Discovery. Because of that, their statement was that the Batgirl and Scoob movies did not fit into their management's new strategy for blockbuster movie theater level content. So it didn't meet some caliber of quality that they were looking for. I'm shocked that Morbius was in theaters twice this past year and this movie's not coming out, it can't have been that bad.
Yeah.
I
By
don't think that's what it is. I think they looked at, maybe it wasn't like a super high quality movie, but I'm thinking, I mean, if it had Brendan Fraser and it had Michael Keaton in it, like it had to.
It would have got me to watch it.
Yeah. Especially if it was on HBO Max. Like, that's what
Especially if it was
baffles
on
me.
HBO Max.
But the thing is, they can only write it off for taxes if they agree, because when they write it off, it means that they can never distribute the movie, and neither can anyone else.
Shit.
So once they write it off, that movie is never going to see the light of day.
That's crazy.
So that's what makes me think that it really is. It comes down to all of these people worked on this movie for over a year. Some people for a couple years to get this made. Joss Whedon was involved in this a couple years back, and then
Fuck that guy, but yeah.
and it transferred over to a different team. The actors, the production, everybody involved in this was so passionate and excited about it, and they found out the news basically at the same time that everyone else did, which was
That's
yesterday
fucking
when
terrible.
the WB announced it. And they're like, so this movie that we put all of this, they put out a statement that was really heartbreaking. Like, J.K. Simmons was also in the movie, Corey Johnson, Rebecca Front, Leslie Grace, obviously. They said they're huge fans of Batman since they were little kids, and it was a privilege and an honor to have been part of the DCEU even for a brief period, and that they were shocked by the news. And it's like, so it really shows you that these companies are, it's a dirty, grubby business. It's not about the creative arts. It's not about making decent movies. It's all about, and since especially with streaming, and that this kind of goes into a bigger discussion about the streaming bubble, I think, is starting to burst.
Yeah.
Because we've been seeing it with Netflix, and we're seeing it now with this, is that they promised and started churning out so much fucking content, and we're just hemorrhaging money. Like, Netflix doesn't make money. Basically, none of these streaming services make enough money to really afford the amount of stuff that they're making.
Except
so
for
now,
Disney.
yeah, so now they're getting to a point where they're like, well, now it's just going to save us money in the long run to just write this movie off and just get rid of it, even though all of these people put work into it for however long. And I've seen a lot of directors like Scott Derrickson, I think, came out about it, and James Gunn talked about it too. Like, a lot of people talked about how this scares pretty much anybody that's working on a project for a streaming service now, because it's like they could literally just you never release it. You could put in all the work to make it, and then they could just be like,
It just gets
nope.
yeeted off the face of the earth.
Yep,
All
and then it
people
just
still get
disappears
paid, though,
forever.
right?
So that's kind of what
That's
happens.
also
is
a gray area.
Yeah, so they usually have upfront pay deals now so that the streaming service has the ability to just cancel and get rid of stuff that they want to.
Say bare minimum, people get paid their day rate no matter what. They get paid for physically being on set during filming, during writing, all of those things. But
No back end.
Sometimes, yeah, you lose out on potential like revenue share or merchandising deals or any of those things. All that shit goes by the wayside. I think it's a quarterly requirement for Warner Brothers at this point to do something that literally pisses everybody off.
Yeah,
Like, I don't care how shitty this movie was. If it's a fucking shit sandwich, take a bite, say it tastes great. Like, just roll it out.
It's
there.
not like they have a perfect track record anyway.
Yeah.
With DC stuff, and it's not like they have a perfect track record with HBO stuff. It's like, really, I think it just comes down to the money. Like, really, they saw a way out of. They had too many projects to shuffle around, and they were just like, well, we can get rid of a couple of them. And Batgirl is unfortunately one of the ones that got the axe. The other couple of notes that I have here is I saw a really good tweet from somebody that said, Marvel says, for Christmas, we're giving you the X-Men back. And Warner Brothers says, Santa isn't real and we shot your dog.
Killing dogs. Ooh.
The only other note I have here is that Zack Snyder fans can suck my salty balls, because
Yours?
my salty California balls.
Oh, okay. I thought that was a comment someone made.
No,
But
that's
you're
my
saying
comment
that. Okay.
to the Zack Snyder fans. So a lot of people were pointing out that when Zack Snyder's dream vision of a superhero-related movie got canned, the masses came out and basically became the most annoying fandom on the face of the earth. And God damn it, they made that movie happen, to the shock of the whole entire world, including us. And the reaction by pretty much those same exact fans to the Batgirl one being canceled has been good, because it's a woman movie, and also she was Latinx.
Literally
so,
not white.
Yeah, she was not white, and to them, Batgirl is not white. Well, I got a fucking newsflash for you. Batgirl's not real. These are fucking fictional characters. I'm sorry, I was very upset to see, like, I was scrolling through comments, like,
I agree. Yeah.
I had a similar reaction to, we're talking about Umbrella Academy in our Patreon bonus episodes. If you're interested in that and want to check out our thoughts. When I went to try to see what people thought about Umbrella Academy in the Rotten Tomatoes audience reviews, I wanted to see what the negative reviews said, just so I could see if anybody was kind of in line with how I was feeling about the show. And pretty much every negative review was regarding Elliot Page's transition in the show and how people were off board when that happened. And I was like,
that doesn't make or break a show.
yeah.
Come
That's
here.
your opinion.
Hey, you, come here. Come closer. Closer still. If you don't agree with any of that, fuck you. Tune out of the video. You can leave a dislike on your way out. You can leave a nasty comment. I'll just delete it. But fuck you forever.
You're inviting,
See you later.
You're inviting a lot of
Adios.
heat, John. You're inviting a lot of heat.
Oh, yeah.
And
Don't
you
give a
know what?
shit.
Bring it on. If you can't stand the heat, the fuck out of the Porcelain Peak kitchen. No, I basically just I was mad about the Zack Snyder fans thing and just like people who can't look past their stupid like I just want Henry Cavill and Ben Affleck as Zack Snyder back, to see that it's like really a tragedy that this happened to the people that made this movie and
The work, blood, sweat, and tears that were poured to make the movie.
Yeah, or that Umbrella Academy you can actually pick apart a show without just going like, I don't like that this person has this real life thing going on that I don't like, that I don't agree with. It's like they're actors. Like, pick apart the show. Anywho, that's all I gotta fucking say about that.
I agree. I'm bummed that we were getting a Latinx superhero. I want one for me. You know? I want a Brown Panther. Or whatever.
Okay, well, why don't you go pitch that to Kevin Feige and come back and tell us how it goes?
Saying on a Brown Panther sounds like you're wanting to take a specific kind of shit.
Yeah, dude, I got a Brown Panther. I'll be back. I gotta see a man about a Brown Panther.
One that kind of just skulks right out through the bush, you know?
Yeah, pretty much. That's good for news, yeah?
Yeah, I'm
All
done.
right on. That's gonna wrap it up for Chop Talk, and we'll go ahead and get started with some trivia.
That Christmas house of wax, the fog, piranha. It's one of those, right? Right?
All right, anyone that stuck around that's not offended after what John said, we're playing Scary
I'm
Movie
personally extremely
Night In.
offended
So,
as a Zack Snyder fan.
I think I got this from Kohl's.
Nice. Did you use Kohl's Cash?
Oh, it was Kohl's, yeah. It says it right on the box. No, I don't know. Anyway,
It's the future of the American economy, bro.
so there's going to be 4 questions that are just question answer, and then 2 questions that we're going to have to describe the movie just to kind of mix things up. I'll read to John to Anthony, Anthony back to me, and just a point if you get it, and no points if you don't. So done with the point system. Are you ready, John?
Ready as I'll ever be.
Okay. In which 1965 movie are 5 horror stories linked by the mysterious Dr. Shrek, played by Peter Cushing? You know that?
No, I'm just thinking, out of my swamp, donkey.
Different kind of Shrek.
No, I was watching. I'll let you think for a little bit. I was watching I Am Legend the other night, and he has that whole scene where the kid's watching Shrek, and he comes up behind him and starts quoting it, and he's like, "I like Shrek." And that's not the only movie that he references Shrek in, because in Bright he also talks about Shrek,
Weird.
because Joel Edgerton is an ogre,
Yeah.
or they're like ogres or orcs or whatever. So I was like, man, Will Smith's just got, maybe he's like upset that he didn't get to voice Shrek or something.
Or the donkey, maybe.
Yeah.
Can you read it for me one more time, please?
In which 1965 movie are 5 horror stories linked by the mysterious Dr. Shrek, played by Peter Cushing?
You said, was it 55 or 65?
65.
I had no idea that Shrek had a doctorate, if I'm being honest.
I don't believe that man's ever been to medical school.
A doctorate in swamp ass, maybe.
I had swamp ass so bad the other day that I took my underwear off, and instead of like a line down the crack like it normally is, it was just my whole ass. There was just the little wedges where my legs were. And I was like, God damn, I got sweaty. It's like, I gotta stop watching Cops.
I feel like I've been thrown to the wolves here.
Uh-huh.
That's a tough one. I wouldn't have got it. I don't know if you would have gotten it.
No, haven't seen this one, and I've seen quite a few anthologies.
So, you might have just gotten unlucky.
Yeah. Horror anthology.
It's a rough.
Dr. Terror's House of Horror. So you got, oh, word.
Yeah.
Dr. Horror's House of Terror, grocery outlet bargain market.
Tough break, bud.
You got Easy Streets coming up to you for a little while.
Okay.
Which 2017 movie involves Daniel Kaluuya discovering a disturbing secret when he visits his girlfriend's parents?
Well, I would have voted for Obama a third time. It's Get Out.
That is indeed Get Out.
Right on. And he takes the lead.
I'm so happy to be back in horror movie trivia. Feels like a nice cobwebby blanket. Tone, your question is, which Victorian set 2015 movie stars Tom Hiddleston and features gruesome red ghosts in an English mansion?
The Crimson Porcelain Peak.
Oh, yeah. You got it. Bonus point.
Woo, all right. That puts me in the lead. John is at 0. Anthony and I are at 1. We're moving into round 2. John, what 1968 zombie movie kickstarted the career of George B. Romero?
A little bit of a curveball.
Night of the Living Dead.
That is correct, sir. And you're on the board.
Which is getting a Criterion Collection 4K release.
Hell
in
yes.
October, I believe, which I'm very jazzed to pick up.
Anthony, which movie in the Friday the 13th franchise is set in space?
I think everyone's favorite Friday the 13th kill is in this movie. It's Jason X.
It is indeed Jason X.
Where's
X
Earth,
for
though?
extreme.
You know what I mean? Like
What?
Earth is in space, so all the movies take place.
Yeah, I mean, if you break it down
Think about it.
mathematically.
Oh, yeah. 33 degrees.
He just Neil deGrasse Tyson you. Tone, which 1993 comedy horror stars Warwick Davis as an evil creature pursuing his stolen gold?
Oh, for a second. Dude, I almost blew that. Honestly, I was like, oh, Warwick, it's got to be Willow.
If it's Warwick, it's gotta be Willow.
Leprechaun.
It is indeed Leprechaun.
That's too good. All right. Anthony and I are at 2. You're at 1. Round 3 here. John, who directed the movies Life Force, Invaders from Mars, and Eaten Alive? I did not know this.
Yeah, I knew that.
Oh,
just
all right.
because of one of them.
Oh.
I don't recognize the other two.
I would love to know what year any of those came out so I could get anywhere in the fucking ballpark. Oh.
I'm afraid I can't do that, John.
You got 2 of the hardest questions, I feel like, at least so far.
Putting you in your place, bro.
I wouldn't have got this.
Literally none of your questions are difficult.
Cool.
Right where he wants to be.
I'm mad about it.
Fulci.
It is Toby Hooper, your boy.
Yeah, I only knew that he did Life Force, but I've never heard of the other two movies.
Yeah. I've never heard of any of them.
I've never seen Life Force, but I know it's like vampires, but like they suck your life force out instead of your blood.
Like Dr. Sleep.
Or aliens or something. I don't fucking know.
Anthony, who directed the 2009 horror movie Drag Me to Hell?
Let's see. I'm thinking Pizza Papa adjacent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there you go.
Multiverse of Madness.
Walk us through it.
Klaatu Verada Nicta.
Yep, there you go.
Sam Raimi.
It is indeed Sam Raimi.
Well, Samothy Raimi. Tone. Q. In which 2015 movie does a horned demonic beast punish naughty children at Christmas time?
Krampus.
The two of you are
is
being
the
fucking
Krampus.
spoon-fed.
All right, so that puts us at 3.
Yeah.
And you at
1.
Rough, bud. Who played the hunchbacked handyman Riff Raff in the Rocky Horror Picture Show?
I don't think I would know this guy's name off the top of my head.
No, me
even
either.
though I've seen this movie a dozen times.
Yeah, hit me with like literally any other character. It's not Meatloaf, but I'm going to say Meatloaf.
Richard O'Brien.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's also the guy that like wrote the Rocky Horror Show for the stage.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting thing. If you download, this isn't a plug. I'm not been plugged by Bloody Disgusting, even though I do want to give Bloody Disgusting a shout out for basically providing all of the news that I talk about on this show. But they have a service called Screambox. It's kind of like Shudder, but you can only get it on your phone right now. And if you get it, there is a 30-day free trial, and they have a really, really good 2-hour documentary called Pennywise: The Story of It that has basically all of the returning cast, including Tim Curry, come on and talk about the process of making the television miniseries It. And they talk about how all the like crazy different people that they had considered for Pennywise, and it was Rocky Horror Picture Show specifically that convinced them that Tim Curry could do the role. And for some reason I had never like made that connection in my head, but like the made up, you know, crazy kind of sinister character makes total sense.
That's awesome.
Good doc.
Check
It out, and then cancel your subscription before it renews. Tone,
Unless you like it.
yeah, Tone, which 2014 movie features a fatal curse where Micah Monroe is pursued by a demon only she can see?
Micah?
From hit films such as, I won't say because I don't want to give you any clues.
Is that It Follows?
It is It Follows. She was in, I think I might have mentioned it on this show, but she was in a newer movie called The Watcher. That's kind of like a Hitchcockian thriller about a woman who's staying in like Spain or whatever, and there's a dude across the way that's like watching her through the window.
Yeah.
It's cool. Check it out.
All right, so we're at 4.
444.
No, last one. So we're at 3 now.
You're tripping.
We've done both sides of these cards.
Yeah.
I haven't read to you then. What happened here?
I've read all these.
I read that. Yeah.
I must have been skipped at some point.
Oh.
Because I've read the 2 sides of this card and 1 side of this one.
All right. Well, then I guess hit him with the other one.
Yeah, all right.
I don't know. We got fucked up. It happens.
Which 1954 creature feature stars an aquatic monster nicknamed the Gill Man?
Terry.
Yeah, I was going to say Terry. I recognize the name. Is that going to be the creature from the Black Lagoon?
It is a creature from the Black Lagoon.
Okay, so now we're at 4.
Yes.
And you're at 1?
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Okay.
So now this is Name That Movie. We have to describe a movie to the person that we're reading to, but there are key words in this that we cannot say, so kind of like that game Taboo, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, John. So your movie...
You get 3 words, right?
3 words you can't say.
3 words you can't say.
But you can just describe the movie without saying those things?
Yeah.
Okay, I get it. I thought you had to say 3 synonyms. Is that
We can try to do it like that.
I don't know if I can get there on this first one.
Yeah, so...
in that
Well,
way.
no, this is easier than I was thinking.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. You got a guy from down under
Mm-hmm.
and kills people that are traveling around. That's it, right?
Yeah, if this is the movie I'm thinking, then yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Is it,
Great job.
is it Wolf Creek?
That is great.
It is
There we
the old
go.
Wolf Creek. Good day, mate.
All right, so this one is about a big
Uh-huh.
carnivorous fish, but not the one you're thinking.
Okay.
And goes to places that aren't deep in the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
And gets people who like to ride boards on the ocean.
Okay.
But like I
Okay.
said, it's not the one you're thinking.
Is this
What?
Blake Lively's The Shallows?
It is The Shallows.
Woo! It was the not deep
Yeah.
water.
Let
I was
me,
like, shallow.
Let me read
I had to get you somewhere
Let
because
me
I was
read
like,
the forbidden words just for the fuck of it. Australia, tourist, and murder.
mine was shark.
Oh,
beach,
the Australian tourist
shark
murders.
beach surfing.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. I just got to make sure I keep staring at the words so I don't accidentally slip one in.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Let's see. So there's a family, and there's some history about the house that they're living in. Some shit's going down.
Okay.
So they call in a famous couple
Okay.
who is good at hunting.
The Conjuring.
Yeah, it is The Conjuring.
All right. 5Zs? for me and the boy?
Yeah.
And 2 for you?
Mhm.
All right. John, this movie. How can I describe this?
Kind of an art film, right?
About a group of men from the military that are trying to find a different group of men from the military in the wilderness, but turns out those men have been attacked by some sort of creature that you cannot see. Don't overthink it, bro. Yeah. The creatures from outer space.
Is it The Thing?
No. Think about what I said. Group of men think they're hunting or looking for another group of men. Instead, they're being hunted.
Is it literally what we're talking about today? Is it Predator?
Yeah. How is it every game? Like, if it was just one game that shit always happened, maybe.
Yeah,
But
it's every different game from different
crazy.
companies. Yeah,
How
there's
much do you get Predator on Predator Day?
on Predens Day.
Predens Day.
All right.
The thing pretty much worked too, though. When you said that, I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, that fits."
So, this is about a group of people,
Okay.
and they're filming something. They're in the forest,
Mm-hmm.
and they go to a place, and in that place, somebody goes to the point where the room joins.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like a thing that I can't say because it's the word on this card.
Okay.
But they go to, like, somebody goes there
I've known
And-
what this was from the
yeah,
beginning.
and they
I'm just
face
enjoying you
away
trying to describe it. Yeah.
from the camera.
Well, I mean, all I got to say is, "Tell me where you are, Josh." Is this the Blair Witch Project?
My forbidden words were alien, jungle, and invisible.
Mine were woods, corner, and footage.
Oh, mine for The Conjuring were paranormal, ghost, and haunted. But I feel like as soon as I said a couple that hunts spook 'em ups.
Yeah.
All right, Tone. Let's see if you can get this one. So this is about a dude.
Disguised as another dude.
I'm the dude play the dude disguised as another.
It's about a dude who he broadcasts his voice to other people, and there is a some sort of a apocalyptic event happening outside of his building
Good Morning Vietnam.
Oh,
that is related to what he does as a profession.
it's fuck. I fucked myself.
And people are trying to get into the
that really?
building.
Is it Pontypool?
It is Pontypool. I wasn't sure if you would get that, but
I almost wanted to say Ponty Poltergeist.
All right, so
my forbidden words were virus, zombie, and radio.
What's this?
that's all the discard cards. Hand me one of the name the movie cards, and then I will read out clues, and then guess when you think you know it, and that's who wins.
Okay.
Okay. Well, don't do the top one because
Yeah,
I can
'cause-
see what it is. But don't go too far because then it's the other game.
My palms were already sweaty, and my knees are quite weak at this point. So
So we're tied, is what we're doing.
Yep. So the two of you are tied. A couple of sweepers, like some brooms up in this bench.
I'm just happy to be in the competition still.
Back in the game.
Yeah.
So it's just there's no done. It's just shout out when we know it.
Shout out when you know it.
All right. Ooh.
So this movie
Okay.
It's a movie.
Oh shit.
is about a collection of rooms that people often will sleep in when they're not at home but aren't staying with friends.
Okay.
And there's a dude there who is keeping track of this home of rooms.
Shining?
It is The Shining.
I thought The Shining, but like I was like, okay,
home of rooms. The home of rooms.
I couldn't say hotel.
Welcome to the Outlook. It's the home of rooms.
I think we skipped just the regular movie trivia.
Well, I was like, I don't know if this. I don't know if this is The Shining or if this is the best exotic marigold hotel.
Well, I was curious too if it was going to be 1408.
Yeah, that's why I was like, I was between the two, and then
I want to just for shits and gigs. All right, so this is the one that's in the back of the card since we can't use it anyway.
Yeah.
So this one is about a group of men who are military people, and they are in a specific place in the United Kingdom, and they are doing like training missions in the United Kingdom, and then they're attacked by a canine type animal.
Oh.
And then
dog soldiers.
It is dog soldiers.
I'm gonna put that.
I'm gonna call that an unofficial tie.
You can call it whatever you want.
Well, guys, viewers, listeners, I hope you enjoyed that new spin on trivia. I had a blast.
Yeah.
I
think the name of the movie one and not the trivia questions are just more fun.
Yeah. It's challenging, but yeah, it's fun to try to come up with a way that's like not trying to make it hard on the other person, but the words that they put on there are usually the exact words you would use to describe it.
What the words were on that one? I think it was Hotel Kubrick and Here's Johnny for The Shining, and then it was Werewolf, Scotland, and then Pertwee.
Oh, because Sean Pertwee is one of the soldiers. He's like the main guy.
Yeah,
son of John Pertwee.
I'm like, you gave me a lot of wiggle room, though. I can say dog. I can say canine.
Well, I don't think you're supposed to say anything in the title.
Yeah, that's why I didn't say dog. I said canine.
Yeah, he was using the scientific name, bruh.
The scientific name.
Alrighty.
K9 military man.
But yeah, like Anthony said, if you enjoyed that trivia, like I said, you can go back on Patreon and check out some of our old weekly trivia bonus episodes because those are a ton of fun.
Correct.
But
those are all originals, too.
Yeah, we wrote those quizzes.
Mostly.
Mostly. But if you want to check out more of that, you're more than welcome to. But if you're looking for anything additional from us as far as like merch or like ways to support the show,
all I gotta say is, what more could you want? Okay, we're giving you everything.
But you can listen to what the robot ladies have to say, and then we'll go ahead and meet you in the main discussion where we're going to talk about some Predator movies.
The
Predator.
first 3, so we'll see you in a minute.
Yep. Give us your fucking money.
Head on over to patreon.com/Porcelain Peak for hours and hours of additional content, merch, and more. For $5 a month you get access to our weekly trivia bonus episodes, where we write each other new quizzes for every episode. For $10 you get access to our monthly /Turpiece theater commentary tracks, where we crack wise over the top of movies for your enjoyment, alongside a monthly print designed by Anthony Silva. For $20 you can join our producer tier, where you will get early access to our episodes, a t-shirt every 6 months, and the ability to help us come up with ideas for future episodes. All versions of the episode are provided ad-free on Patreon. Again, that's patreon.com/Porcelain Peak to help support the show.
Head on over to porcelainpeakshop.com and purchase some merch to help support the show, or purchase our Horror is for Everyone shirt to support new causes every month. This month we are donating all proceeds from this shirt to GLSEN, because we believe that all students deserve to learn in an environment free from bigoted pieces of shit. Share a picture with your merch on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook and we will give you a shout out on a future episode. Again, that's porcelainpeakshop.com to help support the show and look fly as hell in the process. Thanks to everyone for watching. Now back to Tone, John, and Anthony.
Hey, you want to see something really scary?
Welcome back. Like John mentioned before the break, we are talking about the first 3 Predator movies, which includes Predator, Predator 2, and Predators. And hey, you're thinking, could these get any more confusing? The next one's called
The Predator.
The Predator.
Yeah, which is what I always want to call the first one. And then I'm like, no, that's just Predator.
Just Predator.
Very
Final
confusing.
Destination. The Final Destination. Fast 5.
Predator, the final chapter.
Wow.
The Fast and the Furious.
Yeah.
Fast and Furious.
Pretty much, dude.
Dreadlock from the Book of Predator.
All right, so if you don't know, this was directed by John McTiernan and written by Jim Thomas and John Thomas. And,
Old Jim and John.
Yep, pretty much.
Jimmy John.
What about
It's Jimmy John.
oh shit? What about Rob Thomas? Did Rob Thomas help write this too?
Yeah.
Okay. What about Dave Thomas
He said, don't forget about me.
from Wendy's?
Sir, there's a Wendy's drive-thru. For the love of fucking
Is there any
God.
way we can have the Predator eat a Baconator on screen?
How the fuck did he get that? All right, stars Arnold Schwarzenegger,
Uh-huh.
Carl Weathers,
Dylan,
Yeah.
you son of a bitch.
Kevin Peter Hall plays the Predator,
The CIA has you pushing too many pencils.
and who else do I want to mention? Jesse Ventura.
Shane Black.
Shane Black is in this, which is relevant later.
Hey, remember that name? Yeah, it's gonna come back later.
He plays Hawkins.
Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously this movie is infinitely quotable. If you don't know,
Save for the one where
yeah,
somebody says the F slur.
the F slur, right? But then he gets his chest completely fucking decimated, so he kind of got what was coming to him. Not that it justifies it, but I was like, all right, yeah, fuck you, dude. But this is very much the era of like macho, manly men, and
Macho man.
I think it shows. You can tell how different these like action heroes look than kind of today's action heroes. Which
Yeah, Arnold was coming off of Commando at this point, I believe, and John McTiernan. I think he did this beforehand, but he is, I think, maybe more well known for doing Die Hard. So really, and then Carl Weathers, obviously Apollo Creed. Like, you know, they're basically trying to bring in, bring all of the elements of the '80s action era together, outside of doing like an Expendables type thing.
Yeah, also constantly confused by racist people as Billy D. Williams. Just
yeah.
because
Really?
they're black people with mustaches.
Yeah, black people who have been in the Star Wars universe.
my familiarity with Carl Weathers is from Arrested Development, where he just plays Carl Weathers, and so seeing him in this just fucking jacked, I was like,
He's
really,
fucking yoked.
dude?
But
Yeah,
I mean,
everybody is pretty much.
But he's Apollo Creed. I mean,
I didn't know that.
yeah.
Never seen a Rocky movie, except the one with Milo Ventimiglia.
Oh yeah, I think that's Rocky Balboa.
Yeah.
The first one is fantastic. I haven't seen any of the sequels except for
Creed.
Yeah, so
So-
I've basically seen Rocky and Creed.
I've seen all of them. You watched like pound for pound the worst one, maybe. So Rocky 5 is the worst, and then Rocky Balboa is right behind, like right in front of
like
that.
that.
But so Rocky 1 is fantastic.
That's not what we're talking about.
2 and 3 are so 2 is pretty good. 3 is my favorite. 4 is widely considered the best in the series because it's literally just anti-communist propaganda. And then 5 and Rocky Balboa suck, and then the Creed movies are like runaway classics.
Wow.
You were so worried about getting people to like call us out and argue, but you're like, no, I'm just gonna give my like these are the facts ranking of a franchise that we're not even talking about on the episode. And
I'm
you're
just
like, just to invite arguments from the audience.
Bring it
Yeah.
on.
So Carl Weathers' character Dylan enlists Arnold Schwarzenegger and his Dutch in the movie and his team to go rescue another group of men that have gone missing. And
Predator.
they think that they're prisoners of war, right?
In South America, right?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, and they go to the base, and along the way they find dead bodies of the people that were on that mission. And
Yeah, Jim Hopper.
Yes, which is super weird. Yeah, so
Dead
Jim Hopper,
bodies is like an understatement. Those are
Hawkins,
skeletons.
Yeah.
And then they realize that these people aren't taking these other men hostages, then they are in fact being hunted by a being. I honestly, I mean, I've seen this movie before, but I did not remember that it starts off showing the Predator like coming to Earth.
Yeah,
I was
so
like, oh shit, they show like the space aspect of it.
Yeah.
I don't know how much the advertising for this movie gave that away. I would assume it probably just straight up was like, this is Arnold fighting an alien. But I would have loved if this movie had it, because I never was going to see it without knowing there was an alien in it. But I like to imagine that their intention would have been to release this as like, oh, I'm just watching an action movie with a bunch of people I recognize from other shit. And then 2/4 of the way through, there's an alien reveal, and you're like, what the fuck? But
Guaranteed somewhere in the trailer, it's like a cutaway of "you're one ugly mother," and then cuts away.
Oh yeah, but I think that this I'm sure was like either a studio note, or they were just like, we want people to know, like, just stick around in case you're not enjoying the action element. There's something more to this. To me, I was like, I didn't really need that at the beginning. Like, I like pretending while I'm watching it that I'm being tricked into watching just like a crazy over the top action movie, and then it has a little surprise twist, because they really do spend a large majority of this movie not showing you the Predator, which in respect to in comparison to all of the other movies in the Predator franchise,
works flawlessly by comparison.
Yeah, it's just like nobody has really tried to do that since. Like it's always just like, let's just show the Predator. Like, the Predator, here's the Predator.
Let's show different kinds, and let's show them bigger, and let's show, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and in this one,
we'll get into that in a minute.
Yeah, and some of that may have been because the Predator was originally played by Jean-Claude Van Damme and had a completely different, like, weird mantis-like design. There are photos of
which
the
we
costume
actually get to see in
Predators. Yeah.
But
yeah, so Jean-Claude Van Damme originally, they wanted somebody who was more like
nimble
and like a martial artist to play the Predator, and they had him in this crazy like bug costume, which half the time was just a big red costume because they needed to be able to chroma key out the Predator, and the terrain was so rough he couldn't really perform any stunts or do any sort of action in that costume. He ended up being fired. They replaced him with what was the actor's name who plays Predator?
Kevin Peter Hall, who
was great in this one and the sequel as
and
the
very
Predator.
tall
And very tall. And completely redesigned the Predator. Got Stan Winston on board. There is an infamous story that sounds all too familiar about him being on a plane with, I believe, James Cameron.
Just real quick, he's 7'2.5".
Fuck.
So
yikes.
So yeah, how massive he looks in that movie.
He's just that big.
Yeah, the designer was on a plane with, I believe, James Cameron, and James Cameron kind of looked over at the sketches and went, I've always wanted to see an alien with mandibles. And so they put on the classic mandibles to the design for the Predator, but they give it this camouflage ability throughout the movie that does a great job of building up paranoia throughout the whole thing. And they really never really use the cloaking thing to as good effect as they do in this movie. And I'm not talking about the actual physical effect, but just like the way that it's able to maintain that air of mystery until they finally start revealing like little bits of the Predator. And
it's just Jaws in the jungle. Like, it's literally what it is. I mean, it's the same concept where you don't see Jaws very much until the very end, and he's scarier because of it. Same with the Predator. You don't see him very often because of this cloaking mechanism. It makes him more mysterious, and it makes it inherently scarier when he fucking takes off the mask and he's got the fucking crazy face. Like, it just works way better.
Yeah, and I love this movie. I mean, okay, I don't want to say I love this movie, but I really enjoyed this movie because I thought that all the acting was really good for what it was. You know what I mean? If you go into an RL movie, you kind of know what to expect. And like I said, this movie, you can quote all day. I mean, you already did. And it's great.
Get to the chopper!
Yeah. But also, some of it is pretty brutal. And it's like, I'm excited to see what the creature is doing, but I'm also excited to see if these men survive. And then it becomes this kind of Home Alone, booby trap-esque jungle adventure. And Arnold is fucking fantastic. Like, in his heyday, dude, he was so tight.
Yeah.
Well, and I think this is a really good performance from him. Like, it's one where I feel like he's really trying, and you can tell he cared about the material, and you can tell that these guys had a camaraderie off screen, and there's a lot of behind the scenes stories of them talking about how they would all get up together at like 3 a.m. and do their working out together. They would all work out together and drink beer, not milk, together. And the only one that wouldn't join everybody on the workouts was Carl Weathers, because he wanted to maintain the mythology that he was naturally given his muscles, and so he would wait till everybody was done working out, and then he would go into the gym and do his workouts.
And so I thought you were going to say is so that he kept that distance between the groups, because he's actually not part of the group. It's like from a filming standpoint.
Yeah. No, it was just that there was a lot of macho, there's a lot of machismo going on between these actors off screen. Like, they're obviously these all big egoed guys, and it plays so well into the thing that I think as a child I never would have picked up on this, is that this is not only like an homage to 80s action movies, but it's also very tongue-in-cheek, kind of making fun of 80s action movies. It's very deliberately over the top. Like there's the classic scene where they're all freaked out and they just start firing all of their giant fucking guns into the jungle, just like endlessly shooting at nothing.
Yeah. Even like reloading and keep going.
Yeah, and you get all these like sexy shots of a Gatling gun and stuff. And it's all these giant, ridiculous men scared shitless. And that's what makes the movie work so well, is that you do start out with the first, hour of it or whatever being these guys who come in and just wreck shop in that village. Like Arnold's throwing knives through guys, stick around, and they've all got their punchlines. They're all firing grenades into buildings, and they are just like, they're
decimating this place,
they're laying waste. They're salting the earth in this jungle. And then when they start to get paranoid about the fact that something is better than them, that's when the fear of like what this predator could possibly be, because it is just easily outclassing everybody in this group and just picking them off one by one, and very gruesomely, like you said.
Yeah, I think that's kind of why the movie takes that direction, is to show you like these are supposed to be the best of the best, and now if they can get defeated, like what the fuck is this thing? And so it adds paranoia for you too. You're like, whoa, shit. So honestly, I think that's good writing.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously John McTiernan understood that he wanted to inject a little bit of like a satire into it, and I think everybody kind of understood that in the material. And they're all, you got Jesse Ventura with like a softball-sized wad of chewing tobacco in his mouth, and he's just like spitting on people's shoes, and everybody's just like bouncing insults and lines off of each other. Shane Black's entire role in this movie is just to like make pussy jokes, which makes a lot of sense when you think about how he decided to write his movie. But yeah, but all the characters are still like, they're either likable or they're so ridiculous that you're just kind of enjoying how goofy they are. And so you do kind of care when they start getting picked off. And then you get the really awesome, like you said, Home Alone thing of like Arnold being the last one left and having to figure out how to not outmuscle the predator, but outsmart the predator. So he finds out that like
Heat
the
vision.
mud can hide him from the thermal vision.
And I love that it's an accident.
Mm-hmm.
We talked a lot about plot convenience in these last few episodes regarding other things, but I love that he just crawls out of water and is like, oh shit. All right,
and the predator
that
like
works.
looks at him and walks by and doesn't
Yeah.
register that he's there. Yeah.
This kind of reminded me like of Aliens. Like instead of making an alien then Aliens, they just made an Aliens.
Yeah.
Because it is that very much like horror action movie. And so I was like, okay, I see what you're doing here. And they had that kind of goofy, funny character to some extent. Not as good as Paxton, but
Yeah.
I think it worked. And then Paxton shows up later. I feel like they did the same thing with Predator. They went too far in the other direction.
I think that was in one of our trivias. He's the only person to be killed by an alien, a predator, and a Terminator.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
That's rad. So what do you think? What are your highlights and lowlights?
And your ultralight beams.
I understand there's a different time, but anytime the F slur is dropped, I'm just like, could you fucking not?
Yeah.
I would prefer you just let that die.
I don't remember when it was used. I must.
It's
not have been paying
in the
attention.
helicopter on the way in. Jesse Ventura says it, and
Well, I'm glad I missed it because it probably would have been a little bit distracting. But
yeah. Well, I mean, he says it literally before he then spits chaw all over Carl Weathers' feet, which is like overtly racist.
when I say like, okay, it was a different time, that's not saying that it was ever okay to do that.
Yeah.
But I tend to be forgiving of saying like, okay, well, times were different and people weren't as cognizant of how that affected other people when you said that. And then also these characters, like you said, they get their just desserts for being, you know, macho man pieces of shit. Like, it's not like these characters are getting away with anything. Like, they're all kind of pieces of shit to each other and they all get blown to pieces or skinned alive. So,
that's much more of a had my druthers thing, though. Not really,
if you could retroactively make the world a better place.
Highlights then?
I mean, the action is put together so well. I think that the camouflage effect works very well for being an 80s movie. And like I said, for the most part, aside from dropping an F-slur in like the first 15 minutes of the movie, the dialogue back and forth, very engaging, very funny. And the tension ratchets up very well once the people start to fall off and you kind of get a little more of Arnie just kind of figuring shit out on his own.
What do you think of the creature design?
I think it looks cool. I mean, it's different than just about anything else because it's very humanoid, just a big ass dude, and then you take off the cool mask and it's fucking creepy and terrifying.
Is it weird that they can only see with the mask on? right? Because they can't see really.
So
Because when he takes the mask off, it's all just red.
yeah, so I guess the mask is supposed to help like hone their thermal vision because they have like just shitty thermal vision. It's kind of the problem too is that this movie leaves the Predator pretty vague in terms of like where it comes from, because for all we know, this could just be like a rich dentist from the Predator planet who just goes and does this for fun on his off time. We learn in later movies that it's more of like their entire culture is obsessed and built around the hunt and all of that stuff. But in this, like, we don't know really anything about this guy outside of it's an advanced civilization of some sort. He's able, but you can hurt him. If it bleeds, we can kill it. So I love that we get just little bits of world building where he has like a medical kit and he has to stitch up his own wounds, and you hear him screaming in pain, like roaring in the jungle. And there's those little things to kind of, like you said, make him a little bit more humanoid and kind of closer to humanity, but still remains largely mysterious.
Yeah,
and I really, really like that, especially, and the way that the reveal of his face is handled too, where you're like, you wouldn't really know, is this an alien or is this a dude in a costume? Is this a robot? And then when he takes that mask off and you get to see, like, I remember the first time I saw that, I was like, what the fuck am I looking at? This thing is so crazy looking.
Great effect work too.
Yeah, it's fantastic, and then obviously complements the alien very well because the xenomorph is very phallic. This thing literally has a pussy throat when it opens its mouth. Very yonic,
yes,
I think is the right term. Yeah, and so I think the design of the Predator all around is fucking fantastic, and I don't really think it's been done as well since this movie. They've just been doing riffs on it that have just kind of fucked it up even more and more as they've gone down the line. So I'm hopeful that the Prey interpretation of the Predator is a little bit closer to, or does something to one up it in a way that actually makes sense or sounds cool.
We'll see soon. I know that for me, I feel like this is a obvious high point. It started way at the top, and then everything has been a sliding scale one way or the other since then. I just feel like this left a wide net where you could go, and every director who's attempted so far has gone as far into the wide net as they can, when they should have stuck close to it and tried to play within the margins of what was laid out in this to keep some value and some mystery with the character.
I think Predators tries.
We'll talk about Predators.
All right, yeah.
We
so
still have a whole ass movie to talk about.
The last
before we get
thing
to that.
I wanted to mention is that Dutch Schwarzenegger's character, and then I believe Anna survive, right?
Mm-hmm.
Elpida Carrillo is her name. They survive, but we never see him again. And I guess Arnold has been asked to come back.
Yeah.
He said no to Predator 2 because of financial reasons, and then he did say yes to cameos in the Predators and Alien vs. Predator, but was governor, so he could not do it.
Yeah.
But another thing that I thought was interesting, and I read this through IMDb trivia, is that although the Alien movies basically completely discount AVP as part of that franchise, nothing about what takes place in AVP or any of these movies discount that those are separate or make them separate events. So they can all technically be still canon.
In the Predator franchise? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So they're not part of the Alien franchise, but nothing conflicts.
Yeah, I mean, that's just because I think we know a lot less now about the Predator than we do about the Alien, thanks to Ridley Scott.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, they said Prometheus kind of fucked that up, but
it's
that's
also
cool.
it also helps for Alien to be able to actually put like a hard line on things when they made one fantastic movie, two really great movies, one pretty solid movie with maybe a little misguided judgment, and then one movie, and then one really bad movie. And you can check out our previous episodes about the Alien franchise.
I was going to say, if we want to rank
get
that franchise, we did that last summer. So,
right. So I thought that was cool. That technically AVP can be part of this, whether you like it or not.
Watching this franchise so far, to me, it makes way more sense that the Predator would be in a Versus movie than it does that the Aliens would be in a Versus movie. Like, in terms of the trajectories of those franchises, like this, I feel like totally makes sense that they would keep AVP canon.
Well, I mean, because
I think it shits less on the Predators in those movies than it does on the Aliens.
Well, okay, because the Alien,
because it changes the Alien, it like invents a new origin for the Aliens, but for the Predators, it's just like, oh, they could have been breeding these fucking xenomorphs and hunting them.
Yeah, because the xenomorph is like a planet killer. It's meant to be like a being that literally takes over everything and utilizes and like in a parasitic way people for its gestation cycle. Whereas with Predator, it's literally just like, you want to fight, man? you think it'd be pretty cool if we fought, man?
You want to fight about it? So yeah, let's talk about Predator.
Predator 2, directed by Stephen Hopkins, and just the writing credits are the same guys, but it just says characters, so I don't know who actually wrote this movie.
Maybe nobody did.
But it stars
I wouldn't be
Danny
surprised.
Glover. He's our main character.
As always, he's too old for this.
Kevin Peter Hill. Oh my God, Kevin Peter Hall reprises his role as the Predator. I think he's the only one to go into this second movie here.
Yeah, he unfortunately passed away shortly after this movie, I believe,
really?
which is why he didn't go on to play more Predators and more Predator movies.
Gary Busey is in it.
Yeah,
the old bussy.
As
old
Peter
bussy.
Keys, and Ruben Blades as Danny Archuleta, and Bill Paxton.
Yep.
And I feel like that's pretty good
Yeah.
for the most part. Yeah. So
this movie decides to take the action from the jungles of South America to the urban jungles of Los Angeles.
Welcome to Los Angeles.
So what I want to get out of the way right away is just like the two things about this movie that I liked before we could just talk about how this movie sucks ass. So I like the concept of moving it to LA. I think it's cool because there's a heat wave. Feels very appropriate to what's going on in our current real life climate. I like that because there's a heat wave, it attracts the predator to come there, just like it was kind of established that, or it seems like predators like warmer climates, which is why it was in the jungle in the first one. Like that concept. In theory, like the concept of having like an everyman detective go up against the predator, I just think it's not executed well in this movie. And some of the action horror stuff in the third act is fun, but that's pretty much all I got to say about things that I liked about this movie.
As much as he's just literally doing the Danny Glover thing, it's always entertaining. That's bare minimum. Like,
I just think I don't think he's putting in a bad performance. I just think that he's
in a poorly
he's doing
written
as much
movie.
as he can, like surrounded by just complete garbage.
Yeah.
I mean, just the way this movie looks, the way it's designed, the way the action is done, though this movie, which goes on to apparently be a running theme in the Predator franchise, is borderline offensive with some of the like racial themes that go on in this movie.
Bill Paxton has almost no charm, which he's known for. I mean, yes, sometimes he's an ass, but you're always like, I like that guy. And this, I was like, you're kind of irritating.
Yeah, they take the Predator, which was a very mysterious, threatening presence that's supposed to be like better than the top beings in humanity, and basically turn him into a fucking buffoon for this entire movie, and even have him like cracking jokes, where we had that creepy moment where he talks in the first one, which I had forgotten was a thing that the Predators could do, because they've kind of abandoned that in future Predator movies. But he only says like one line when he just asks Arnold like, you know, what are you, or who are you, or whatever, and kind of like parrots it back to him. And this, he's saying like, shit happens, and ugly motherfucker, you know, finishing the sentences and stuff. And it's over the top, but not in the same good, fun way that the first one was. Just in a like, this is so bloated and none of it's interesting.
It feels like they, just like anybody who goes out to make a sequel and then, you know, falls flat on their fucking faces, they wholly misunderstood the charm of what made the first one a good movie. And in this one, they try to double down on all of the wrong bets.
It's like, why is most of this movie like a police procedural dealing with like the bureaucracy of how the police force works, but then also Danny Glover's character is just fucking punching reporters and doing like crazy shit? Like it just doesn't make it. Like, I'm like, why would I want to be watching this? Because, and that's what we're like, Predator was there's either crazy action happening or they're being hunted by the predator. In this, it's like the predator just seems almost tangential a lot of the time. I like the concept of like the predator hunting people in the city, and I liked in the beginning
Gang members, dangerous people,
taking out dangerous people because it makes sense. It's just like this LA being in this like insane constant gang war that's happening just out in the middle of the streets. Like, it just, I can see, and they've talked about being kind of inspired by RoboCop and wanting this to feel kind of like RoboCop / Blade Runner. I don't really see as much of the Blade Runner influence, but the RoboCop influence I can kind of understand because RoboCop is also extremely over the top, but it's satire and it understands, like, it has that edge of humor to everything that makes RoboCop work so wonderfully that this movie is just completely missing.
Yeah.
And it just does all of the grimy, gritty ugliness of just like the shittiest 90s action movies.
Yeah, some things that come from this that we end up getting later on in this franchise, when Danny Glover does eventually get into the Predator ship, we see some skulls that we know the Predator likes to take as trophies. So this is one we see is the Xenomorph, which I think is why they ended up developing AVP.
Yeah.
Just from that idea. And then there's also like a big boar head. That's some kind of alien that comes up in the later movies. I think in both of the next two movies.
Yeah, I think the
extent.
only reason the Xenomorph is there is because Stan Winston worked on both the Xenomorph design and the Predator design, so they were just like, well, same dude designed it, why not put the
Yeah, a little
skull in
Easter
there?
egg, but hey.
But again, I mean, that's an example of like, okay, giving us little hints at a larger world about the Predator, and overall this movie still handles that, you know, pretty well. I just think that like we're supposed to believe that this Predator is, we know it's not, I guess it's not the same Predator as the first one because that one blew up or
he
whatever,
did.
but yeah. But because it's a different Predator, I'm like, is this one just like a complete, like, is he like the runt of the litter or something? Because he gets taken down, not easily, but he gets taken down by 50-year-old Danny Glover. And in the first one, we're supposed to think that it took that this thing was able to take down all of Arnold's team, and then Arnold barely got out of that alive.
Yeah.
And got lucky. And now it's just like, oh no, he just had to fucking stab him with a blade thing. Chop
His
arm off.
blade thing, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. And then we get some really bad shin fog CGI.
Oh yeah, where they're just missing their feet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything that worked and didn't work for you?
I mean, the majority of the movie didn't work for me.
Yeah. A lot of people are
Yeah.
saying, I've read that, one, it's a cult classic, and two, that they prefer it to the original. What do you think about that?
I think that's a crock of horseshit. That's people. That's people who are literally just being like contrarians, who are like, "Oh, Predator's a beloved classic in action, horror, and sci-fi. So obviously it sucks." And the shitty sequel's the one.
It's
you
like
want,
people
right?
trying to argue that Halloween 2 is better than the original, and I feel like there's an easy comparison to make to there, and kind of like a sequel that misses the mark of what made the original work so well.
On top of that, for especially for like Halloween 2, a movie that literally needs the first one to have legs at all.
Yeah, this really I don't think should have been a Predator movie, and really the only stuff I like about it is that it kind of gets a little bit gory at the end, except there's so much ridiculous stuff. Like, so Gary Busey is he shows up and he's like, yeah, I'm back, bitch, like I'm gonna get you, Predator. And then the Predator throws like his blade thing through all of the meat, and he cuts Gary Busey in half. And then we see Gary Busey's legs and his guts fall, but then where's the rest of his body? Is he just floating? What's going on? I was like, what the fuck? His legs just fell to the ground. There's all these guts on him. I'm like, where's the rest of his body?
Just hold on to the...
They couldn't get Gary Busey back on set for that scene.
Yeah. It's convoluted. None of it makes any sense. There's no real mystery to it at all. And like you said, it feels like, aside from a couple of gory kills, this Predator is very easily taken out, which is... that's not what you want. You want it to... the whole point is just get bigger, more spectacle.
There's no fun,
Yeah.
I would say.
Well, and then
Really?
even like the Predator being in that one lady's bathroom, and we get this weird slapstick, like her looking
think
in,
he
like,
cares.
yeah, and then he like just
Or
busts
gives a
through
shit
all,
or something,
yeah, he just
yeah.
like busts through all the walls and walks away, and it's just constantly Danny Glover just like, oh shit, oh birds, oh shit, oh god, oh shit, heights, oh I'm scared of everything. Like, it just gets so tiresome. And they even like kind of fuck up the Predator design because they wanted to make him more hip and urban looking. So they did some like redesigns to the way that he looks, and I watched a video about how no Predator movie has understood how to do the mandibles right, because in the first movie the mandibles close over the mouth and they do the clicking noise with the tusks, and then every other one has like them like open, and so they don't cover, and it's like No, the point of the way it was designed like that was that its mouth could like close up completely, and then it would use the clicking for communication, and now it just makes that noise without ever showing any of that stuff. And the faces keep getting wider and crazier because they're being sculpted with the scream open, and then they're having to like fold these sculpts in, so in the future movies you can see all the creasing in the rubber of the plastic, like in the masks, like in between their jowl. Just really like little details about just small examples of missing
What
the
happens
mark.
when you go from one of the best in the game?
Yeah, to just trying to replicate it.
Yeah.
I mean, so far, my least favorite of what we've talked about.
Yeah, but why did the Predator give Danny Glover a flintlock pistol from the 1700s?
As like a reward? I don't know.
Who fucking cares?
But I believe that pistol is what we're getting with Prey.
Yeah, because that's also in the 1700s, and I think we're going to see where
'Cause
that
I know
pistol comes from.
I believe there's a comic storyline called Predator 1705 or some shit.
Yeah.
And I think that... yeah, well, I think that's where we're headed.
One thing I do like about that is that it does give the little hint that the Predators have been around for a really long time.
Yeah.
And outside of Alien versus Predator, that's kind of the first time that we get that inclination that they've been around since at least...
But I think, I mean, I don't know if we should keep making comparisons to the Halloween franchise, but again, the more we know about the Predator, the more we know about Michael Myers, the less scary it is, and the less it makes sense, and the less that we give a shit.
Yeah, totally agree.
Predator dies tonight.
Also, these first two movies, I believe, are the only ones that do the really cool, where the cloaking is like a series of outlines of the shape of the Predator, which I had never noticed. Like, I just always remembered it from like the AVP movies where they just basically cloak and go kind of blurry and visible.
Yeah.
And the knowing the technique of how they did that, where like they would film the shot once with the actor in like a red suit, and then they would film it again empty, and then do like, you know, the chroma key, and then fill in the space with the scene from around it, so they would get like these repeat images going in to like fill in it's just super cool, and I'm kind of sad that didn't like continue
Stick
being
around.
the effect going forward. But
Yeah.
anywho.
Probably has to do with not shooting on film, too.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's talk about number 3.
Predators.
Predators. This one, I don't know how to say this guy's name. I don't want to mispronounce the way it's spelled.
I think it's Nimrod Antle.
Is it Okay, isn't Nimrod like a...
With an O, yes.
Yeah.
Nimrod means like idiot.
Yeah, okay, well, that's how it's spelled.
But I think it's also like a biblical name.
Oh,
and
I see.
We've kind of turned it into meaning that, but anywho.
Bastardized it.
He directed 2 episodes of the new season of Stranger Things. He did The Dive and the Nina Project, I believe.
Right on.
Yeah, so...
Alex Litvak and Michael Finch directed. I also know that Robert Rodriguez had a big part in this movie.
It was his production company.
Yeah.
Right.
Troublemaker.
And he was originally supposed to direct it, yeah. And I guess in his original script, because he actually wrote a draft a long time ago.
Mm-hmm. Didn't they call him up like 15 years later, and they were like, hey, we changed our minds, we want to make it?
Pretty much, yeah. And in his script, he said a Danny Trejo-like character. And I guess Danny Trejo heard that and was like, hey, I look like Danny Trejo.
Well, it sounds very much like Sam Jackson and Nick Fury, where they were in the comics. They were like, "We're going to make a very Sam Jackson-looking Nick Fury," and then Sam Jackson was like, "Well, I'm available."
All right, so then we got Adrian Brody as our main character, with Lawrence Fishburne, Topher Grace, Alex Braga, Walton Goggins, and like I said, Danny Trejo, Oleg Taktarov, and Mahershala Ali, early role for him, and then Louis Ozawa, and then there's 2 different Predators in this one. Spoilers. Casey Jones and Brian Steele. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So Rodriguez went on record saying he did that because he wanted it to be aliens. So he made Predators.
Well, and there's also kind of like and they bring it up in the movie where it's like not only are the aliens predators, but they have handpicked the predators of society,
right,
from Earth to hunt.
And in addition to that, there is different kinds of predators.
Yeah.
So
this title's working on all kinds of levels, man. Yeah. It's so deep.
So how did you guys feel about there being 2 different types of predators? Because I thought it was cool to know that it's not just a whole planet of just like one thing. Like there are different tribes and different factions, and that comes up later. So what are your thoughts on that? You didn't like it?
I'm not a big fan, no.
Okay.
So the stuff that I liked about this movie was the base concept of like this planet where people are being like stowed away to basically to combat the predator. Right. I think that shit is cool.
It's not a planet. It's a game preserve.
Yeah, so that's the premise of this movie. If you don't know, people are hand-picked from Earth. We don't know that right away. They're put in a jungle. We later find out that it is a planet that is a game preserve where the predators can go hunt. Which to me was weird because it's like, wow, why haven't they been doing that? Why do they only do that sometimes? And then they hunt on the other people's turf other time? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like home field advantage.
Yeah. That's part of what, like I said, where this movie starts to fall apart for me is that like the whole concept like is fun. It's a cool idea. It's an expansion of the universe, and it adds a little back to the mystery. But
takes us back to the jungle.
Yeah, which is also great. It's a great setting for these creatures.
Different jungle. This is a Hawaiian jungle.
I don't know. I didn't really super dig the fact that it was that like it was the regular predator is used to be like the this is like your fodder, like your red herring almost to be distracted because there's this like super predator that's around now.
They call them
they're not super predators in this one. That's the predator. In this one, they're
tracker predator and berserker predator.
There's 3.
Oh, sorry, right? There is 3. Yeah, because then Derek Mears.
Oh, nice.
Is the classic predator. Yeah, so that's right. So I think the berserker and the tracker are kind of one, and then the classic predator is the one that's being held up.
Yeah,
in that camp, and yeah, that's cool.
And
I didn't realize that was him.
Later in the movie, they have to have the berserker predator kill the regular predator to show that it's stronger.
He's berserk.
Yeah, it's fine.
I like the beginning of this movie. I think that it has more of the mystery that we talked about with the first one, where
feels
we
like
know.
Lost.
Yeah, but they don't really know what's going on, and you kind of don't know what's going on, and you don't know why these people are put together, and there seem to be people that are more or less misfits, even in this group of misfits. I thought that was fun, and then we get to see homages to the original design where that creature pops up. We get to see where that warthog skull type creature came from the second movie. Where this movie really lost it for me was this Lawrence Fishburne act, where everything stops, action completely halts, and then we go underground just so that he can try to trap these people to then steal their resources, to then get killed, to then put us right back where we were. Like, it was such a fucking detour waste of time.
Yeah. This movie is something that I'll say is probably the main problem with it, is that it's much too long, and so I think if we had trimmed
it could have been a short film.
Maybe. I know you're very negative on this movie. I really enjoy this, especially coming off of 2. I think that this one
it is better than 2.
This one really tries its best to get back in line with what made the first one awesome, which is you have a group of people with kind of different competing personalities rather than being macho action stars. They're like this generation's version of like, assassins and Yakuza and military people, and like, so I like that it's kind of like, okay, now let's update the generation of action star type. It is, Adrian Brody is very much hamming it up in terms of just being like,
he's doing his best Batman.
Yeah, I'm Batman. Like,
I didn't like that, and
he's very one note. And he's not my favorite part of the movie by any stretch. I think that like some of the camaraderie between like Mahershala Ali and like Walton Goggins is fun. Like there's I do think that the mystery of like them trying to figure out, okay, well, Topher Grace's character is the only one that doesn't seem to fit, and that does play into what I think is a pretty interesting twist with his character a little bit later on, which I don't know if we want to spoil, but and then also having it back in the jungle setting and letting the mystery play out for as long as it does. To them, I mean, really, it was in the trailer. Like, I remember the line in the trailer being like, it's not a planet, it's a game preserve. So I don't know who, it's just the age-old problem with trailers.
Yeah.
It's kind of spoils that, but I do like that, they're walking around and they see the crates that have been dropped and broken open. Also, the opening of this movie, I think, is fucking awesome. Like, how it just goes from, it just immediately opens with Adrian Brody just falling from the sky.
Starts.
Yeah, and you're
doesn't dick around with any preamble.
Yeah, and so you're thrown immediately into it, just like the characters having no idea what goes on. I like the little details about, like, they're trying to figure out what's going on, and what's her face is like, do you even remember a plane? And they all kind of realize, like, we don't remember being on a plane. Like, love that reveal when they finally get to that, like, higher ground or whatever, and they see this insane sky with like multiple planets or moons and all this stuff, and they all have this like, we get to see all of their faces just in complete shock of like,
Before we see it.
yeah, all realizing like, oh shit, we ain't in Kansas anymore, Dorothy.
Yeah, and I also like that it does tie into the first movie. So I guess I never realized it, but these movies are technically all sequels, right? So 2 references 1. This reference, I don't know if it references 2 at all.
It only references
with the warthog.
Yeah, but it only references 1 by date because it says like, oh, in 87 or whatever in the jungle.
Right. Yeah, she says like there was a story about the character from the first one and everything that happened. So that's cool.
Yeah.
That they mention it, that these are still kind of existing, that people do kind of know about it. And then I think that continues in the fourth one.
Yeah, they mentioned, I think in that one they mentioned both the first and the second movie.
So that was cool for me. And then I enjoy the third act more than I did the second act because
that's where I feel like the movie stretches itself a little bit too thin. Like it goes on for too long, and they could
Yeah.
have tightened up that second act.
Right. Or gotten rid of the whole Lawrence
Definitely
Fishburne
gotten rid
stuff.
of the Lawrence Fishburne
But
stuff.
what I like is that it does try to do similar beats without just repeating them exactly. And so instead of Adrian covering himself in mud, he's like, okay, they're sensitive to heat. Let me light everything and make everything hot. And I thought that was a cool way to kind of twist the strategy against the it doesn't exactly work for him. I mean, he hits him a little bit, but in the end he's like, nah, I still got you, fool. So I like that they didn't just do like, let's cover him in mud again. He used a different strategy.
Yeah, and that's where it feels like it's not just trying to be like a soft reboot of the franchise.
Right.
It's trying to expand on like the ideas that they felt worked from the original film and pretty much disregard the second one, which is good.
Yeah. And then this one and the first one made a ton of money.
Yeah, and other things. So I am not a big fan of the whole like, once they started it in this movie and then did it in the next movie too, I'm not a big fan of the whole like, let's make a bigger Predator, because to me it defeats the purpose of like, the Predator is just supposed to be like the top tier badass, like this thing can kill anything. It outmatches anything basically, unless you're super fucking lucky, like Arnold or like Danny Glover. Like if you're really lucky, you may be able to survive this thing, and then you find out like it just kind of shits on the original Predator in this one by saying like, oh no, they're the runts and there's a bigger version that's like trying to hunt them down. I do like expanding on the culture a little bit by saying there's, like you said, there's more to this world than just, because it makes you wonder, like, are there predators? Are they all hunters? Or are there some that work like in office buildings? Like maybe like, are there telemarketer predators? Like just like car's extended warranty.
Yeah.
And I don't need to know that much about their culture, but I liked the whole like blood feud thing. It made sense with the whole like aggressive hunter like vibe of the Predator. But and I liked the whole like, they use dogs to flush them out, and how Adrian Brody, like the characters each kind of individually realize like, it's using tactics I use when I'm killing people, like to kind of kill me, to kill us. So there's a lot that I like about the movie. I just do think that it's a bit too long. Not all the performances work, but I think that the majority of these work a hell of a lot better than anything in Predator 2. I think there are charismatic characters in this. I love Walton Goggins.
Yeah, I was just
even though
gonna
he's a
say
piece of
that.
shit in the movie. Like
Exactly.
I love his character.
Yeah, I mean, I think conversely from what we get with Jesse Ventura, where we don't like any of the offensive shit that he says or does, and then he's not like a charming character, at least with Goggins, you're like, yeah, you're a total piece of shit, but I enjoy watching you be a piece of
Yeah,
shit. Like,
well,
you are
and you have a
entertaining.
character like when he's talking about assaulting women when he gets home or whatever. Like that's a typical day, Monday or whatever. And Topher Grace is like, yeah, okay, buddy. Like, that there is a character to kind of go like, yeah, I'm not into that.
I didn't like Topher Grace in this.
I also was not a fan of Topher Grace.
I don't think anybody likes him in anything.
Except for that 70s show.
Yeah. So what didn't you like so much about this movie?
It ambles. After you get past the first third, everything just kind of shakes its way to the end. And I feel like you said, the whole middle of this could have just been ripped out, and they could have found a better, even very short thing to tie us from the first act to the third act, and we could have made a 45-minute, hour-long movie that would have been a ton of fun. And I still would have had some problems with it, but the middle section, everything falls flat there.
Yeah, it really grinds to a halt there.
Like I said, I don't like the make big Predator. I don't like that. And I'm not a big fan of the twist. I saw it coming.
with
Yeah.
Topher.
Yeah.
Was this your first time watching this?
Yeah.
Oh shit. Okay.
I'd only ever watched.
I don't think it's that difficult to tell there's something up with him though. Like,
Yeah.
I think I also saw this when I was a little bit younger, and I really liked that twist because it totally caught me off guard that it was that fucked up.
Yeah.
And made sense that would be his character.
Yeah,
Like,
and it like I said, it checks out with the way that they've told the story, where they basically grabbed every famed killer of this era.
yeah.
It makes sense that, I mean, spoiler alert for a several years old movie, that Topher Grace is a terrible serial killer.
Yeah.
Like, it just checks out. And I like that they kind of had, like, I do like that they had to, like, work against him at the end. But, I mean, it's not a bad movie. It's nowhere near as good as the first one.
Well, I think it just like the first one has the benefit also of just being very tightly structured.
It's also novel by comparison.
Yeah, and this just kind of gets away from itself. Has a lot of really cool ideas, and is shot gorgeously. I think it's a great looking movie. It just kind of it meanders, like you said. So yeah, I'm not like, I don't love this, but to me, it's like leagues better than 2 was. I didn't fall asleep during this, at least, which I know we both did during Predator 2. So.
Oh yeah, I was fighting it off.
Also, I was reading negative Letterboxd reviews about Predator 2, and so many of them were people saying, "Yeah, I fell asleep in the middle of this," and I was like, "Thank God that we weren't the only ones." That's apparently a common thing with that movie.
Yeah, and then Adrian Brody's character survives, and he has expressed interest in coming back, but
Don't think that's gonna happen.
it doesn't seem like anybody comes back for these franchises. And I don't see that happening if we're doing a prequel.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see what kind of connections Prey decides to make to the rest of the larger franchise. It also gives them room to potentially make sequels to Prey that take place, in between and leading up to, and doing it in different time periods, which I'm cool with. Do it, like.
Give me like an Egyptian.
Yeah.
That'd be
It's hot.
sick.
Predator versus Emotep.
Yeah, dude, I watch the fuck out of that.
That would be dope. Yeah, do it like Turtles in Time. Have them go to like feudal Japan. Yeah, I'm into it.
So, do we want to rate these 3 movies?
I have Letterboxd ratings, so yeah, let's do it.
So, for Predator, we'll rate it out of 5 ugly motherfuckers.
I'm going to say 4. I think that this movie, like you said, Anthony, is tight, and it does exactly what it sets out to do, introducing us to a iconic character now and giving us a good performance from Arnold, and I think the camaraderie is done really well, and it's just a pretty good time. And it does blend that horror and action, I think, in a way that makes more sense than
Science fiction
even
too.
kind of Aliens. You know what I mean? Like this one still feels to some extent like a horror movie.
Yeah.
With the mystery and kind of, maybe, I mean, I guess you could say thriller, but whatever. So I'll give it 4 ugly motherfuckers.
Yeah, I think I'm at a 4 as well. It's like the concept of like the most dangerous game kind of turned up to 11, given a sci-fi horror spin, and it works. Like you were saying before, it's insanely quotable. Even some of the most inane shit in the very beginning, like, I mean, I've seen the gif of Arnie and Carl Weathers, that I've seen that gif.
Yeah, Cavity Colors just came out with a shirt that's that and says like "Dylan, you son of a bitch" or something.
Yeah,
like that.
it's like,
love it,
like super iconic. Just so much machismo on the screen, and movies like The Expendables wouldn't exist with something like this, which I don't care about, but I know there are a lot of people who are like,
what would the world be without The Expendables and its sequels?
Fuck if I know. But this movie is very good, so 4 ugly motherfuckers for me.
Yeah, I'm also going to give it a 4. I think the only reason that I can't personally give it a 5 is because I'm not a big action movie guy. So if I was like really into action movies or really, really into like 90s or 80s action movies, like just action movies in general, I think this would have been like the perfect, like a perfect movie for me. But because it's just not really my bag, baby, I'd give it a 4. Like I enjoyed it, but it's no Alien.
I would
like for a first movie in a franchise, like I think it's pretty darn good. But
it's also no Terminator.
Yeah.
Cool. And then 2.
What are we rating it out of?
Rating it out of 5 weeks from retirement. So how many weeks from retirement was he? I'm gonna say he was 1 week from retirement. I just don't like this movie. It does nothing. Like, I could never watch it again and be okay. So I'm gonna give it a 1.
We're just gonna keep on the same train. I'm also at a 1 week from retirement on this bitch. Only thing that works, at all is how hard Bill Paxton's jacket was working in that fucking scene, because he is just dripping sweat.
Yeah.
I mean, soaked through the shirt, probably an undershirt, and all the way through that big ass wool jacket. I mean, man after my own heart.
Yeah, this one has basically over the course of the week gone from, I think I gave it like 2.5 stars, like really trying to be charitable when I first finished it, and then my opinion of it has just like taken a steep nosedive. So yeah, I would probably give it a 1, maybe a 1.5, stretching it, because I do think the concept is cool, and I do like some of the third act stuff. Like, I think it does kind of pick up and at least gets kind of fun there. So I'll maybe give it a 0.5 star, but yeah, 1.5 weeks from retirement.
Yeah,
maybe.
and Danny Glover's not bad.
Yeah, that's like I say, he's doing his best with what he's given in that movie.
Yeah. All right, so then Predators.
So what are we rating this one out of?
Even bigger Predators.
Berserkers.
Sure, that's fine. I will say
out of 5 Tophers.
5 Tophers. I'll say 3 Tophers. I get enjoyment of it. It's slightly more back to form. It's more back to form than I think
Back to formula.
that we're gonna get.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I've already watched the next one, and
oh boy,
yeah,
it's a movie.
Well,
questionable.
it has moments. I don't know if that category
strung together.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So for this one, I'll say 3 Tophers. I enjoy it. I would watch it again. I've seen it more than once. I mean, it's the only one out of the 5 that I've seen more than once besides the original, and I think it's a product of its time as much as the original was a product of its time.
Totes.
Cool. I'm gonna say 2.5. Tophers. I just don't like it as much. Like I said, core concept, very good. I like, even as ridiculous as it is, the concept of Predator in general is just inherently ridiculous. I'm willing to suspend some disbelief. Mm-hmm. They hired some really great actors for certain things, and then they hired the wrong actors for literally your lead character. Mm-hmm. So it falls apart for for a long period of the movie. Too long.
I think it's even more like Most Dangerous Game in this regard.
Absolutely,
right?
yes.
Because they're like plucked and put in.
But there's a lot of redeeming qualities. Like you said, the cinematics are just beautiful. I couldn't imagine being in the theater and seeing that scene where they show space.
Mm-hmm. Very cool.
Very cool.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, I'm also going to give this 3 Tophers out of 5 Tophers. I think this movie is overall a blast. I like a lot more of it than I dislike.
Mm-hmm.
And this is also, not counting Alien versus Predator, this is the only Predator movie besides the original also that I've seen multiple times. I may have seen this movie more times than I've seen the original, probably just because it was on TV, like more than the original was. But yeah, I have fun with it. It's a little bit bloated, but I think it is. And I also watched the next one, as we said. And given the track record of this franchise, it's literally hit and miss. And I would say, compared to the ones that this is sandwiched in between, this is a hit. So
yeah, I think that's a good point. All right, cool. So that'll wrap it up for our main discussion. If you have thoughts on these first 3 Predator movies, let us know, and we're going to continue with that franchise, but I'll talk a little bit more about that at the end of the episode, and we'll go ahead and get started with our final cut.
What do you know? I asked for final cut, and I got it!
All right, let's get started with our watch list. If you're unfamiliar with this is where we talked about shit that we watched that we did not cover on the show.
Typically watched, read, played, whatever.
Yeah, touched. All right, fuck. I don't watch a lot of horror-related stuff outside of the show.
Just talk about Pretty Little Liars.
I could do that. Yeah, I guilty pleasure had a morbid curiosity about the new Pretty Little Liars, and it was awful. I will say that. The cool part though is that it had a ton of horror references, almost to the point where it was
It's
too
like an
much.
Easter egg hunt, but you look at the field and it's all Easter eggs.
Yeah,
It's all Easter eggs.
you can't really see the grass.
Yeah.
So that was something. So that's first on my list there.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do what you typically did, and I am going to lead off with a book, and by book I mean graphic novel, aka a trade paperback, a group of comics that were written by Ta-Nehisi Coates, who did a very
Wait, so a graphic novel is what?
That's
I don't
the
think
writer.
you explained it well enough. Okay.
I'm not quite there yet. But he did a very famous, probably the most famous run of Black Panther in the modern comics era. It's called A Nation Under Our Feet. So I purchased the first volume of the trade paperback of that. So I've been reading through that. It is very good. But he did a run of that, and then a portion of an Avengers run, and then a Captain America run that are all supposed to kind of tie together. So the intent is eventually I'm going to read through all of those. But he's a fantastic writer. I would highly suggest to check that out, and also basically anything else he's written.
Yeah, so John recommends that. I don't recommend Pretty Little Liars Original Sin.
You know what? I'm gonna start out with a little read 'em too.
Read 'em
not
ups?
not a book, a short story.
Oh,
This short story is written by none other than our dear friend Stephen Veil. I asked him if he was relieved when they published his story and they had spelled his name correctly, and he said, I was just glad they didn't have to say it out loud for any reason. So our friend Stephen has a short story in the Quill and Crow Publishing House magazine. This edition, at least, I know that most of them, if not all of them, are horror stories, but this one is specifically a Lovecraftian monster theme. So I think that all of the 15 or 18 stories or whatever are Lovecraftian themed. Stevens is called The Shadow from the Deep. I read it, and it was pretty awesome. He nails that like Lovecraft descriptive language in a way that I think is kind of hard to replicate. So I think he did an awesome job, and I'm super happy for him that he got published. And it's free to read if you go to Quill and Crow Publishing House on Instagram or their website, and just click on latest issue. I think he's on like page 18 or something. I don't know. I'm probably saying all this wrong, but go check him out. Go read it. It's a good story.
Congrats, Steven. I will also do read 'em, as we're calling them, I guess.
read 'em ups.
Yeah, read 'em up.
Right. We got the trifecta here. I've been reading The Umbrella Academy because I am curious if...
That's weird. How do you read a show?
Oh, it's a graphic novel.
Oh, shit.
Shut your mouth. Yeah, it's fucking so different. It's crazy. It's like, to me, looking at, I guess, like old school Adam West Batman versus like Marvel now, where it's like that was really goofy and silly and over the top, and they kind of try to do a modern interpretation of that. It's basically the difference between the comic book and the show. But it's okay so far.
It's okay.
I like the stuff that they do in the show better than what I've seen in the comic, and just there's not a ton of the character development, and that's really what makes the show, is those relationships.
Yeah.
And it hasn't really gotten down into that yet, if it does. So
Yeah, I'm
and
interested to check it out.
they
at some
all
point.
wear fucking underwear over their shit.
Yeah.
Like classic superhero, and I'm like, all right, whatever.
Could have seen more underwear on the outside in the show.
Yeah.
I think.
All right, so I'm going to go into a territory that I typically go into and no one else follows. Video games. I have been playing the adorable, yet very scary sometimes game Stray, which is a ton of fun. You play as a little orange tabby cat in an apocalyptic time, and basically you are trying to escape back to the surface after having fallen into a pit which is completely inhabited by robots and parasites.
A pit of despair, trying to claw your way out. That's the story of my life.
But very good.
Classic cats always falling into robot pits.
Having a lot of fun. I'm probably about halfway done, maybe a little further than that. But it is a fantastic time.
What platform is that on?
It is on PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S, PC, and I think Nintendo Switch. I think maybe.
And am I correct in saying that PS stands for PlayStation?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Porn station.
Yeah, I want to play this game so bad, but I don't have anything to play it on. I guess I could get it on PC because my Mac is boot camped or whatever.
Yeah,
but
boot camp.
Yeah, but sounds like work. But I do really, I mean, that's a game that's made for me. I love orange tabby cats. I have one. So I'm gonna steer us back on course here, and I'm gonna recommend a movie. Talk about it. So I mentioned earlier that I had watched I Am Legend, which also has the chick from Predators in it.
Predators.
Yeah, same actress. But anywho, not talking about I Am Legend, though on the rewatch, I did very much enjoy it. I think it's one of Will Smith's better performances and still holds up pretty well. But another Richard Matheson-based story adapted into a movie is the Kevin Bacon starring Stir of Echoes, directed by David Koepp, who also did Secret Window with Johnny Depp and wrote Jurassic Park and is mostly known as like a screenwriter, but has directed a few things.
I don't like Secret Window.
I'm not a huge fan of Secret Window either, but Stir of Echoes was pretty awesome. It does in a lot of parts feel a little bit like a Lifetime movie, but Kevin Bacon is it's a very good performance from him. I think he's great in it as a kind of lovable, hardworking blue-collar family man who slowly starts to go insane after he's hypnotized and starts seeing visions of potentially a girl who was kidnapped or may have been murdered in his house, and he has to unravel the mystery of why he's seeing these visions and what's going on. And there's some pretty crazy imagery. There's stuff where he's like being hypnotized and he's in a movie theater, and it's like she's like drifting you toward the movie theater, and he's like, "There's somebody else in the theater," and she's like, "No, there's not. You're alone." No, there's somebody else here. There's some stuff that had me on the edge of my seat. So not a fantastic movie, but I would still recommend it, especially if you're into Richard Matheson stuff. This was actually a novel of his rather than a short story, so I'd be interested to check out the novel and see how it is in comparison.
Yeah, me too. So if you get your hands on that, let me borrow it.
Yeah.
I saw this as a kid.
Yeah.
And I remember being fucking scared out of my mind.
I've heard so many people say either that same thing or like, oh, it's so fucking scary. I didn't find it particularly terrifying, but I can see how it would be very scary as a child to see. There's some weird, disturbing imagery, and a lot of it's just like flashing in your face when he's having visions. So you're just like, oh, what's going on?
It's gone. The last thing for me was a rewatch that I watched Everything Everywhere All at Once recently for the second time.
I'm gonna piggyback on that.
Oh, all right. Well, your turn. And yeah, I loved it. Cried again, and I'm glad that I did because I went ahead and voted for it in our Todd Browning Awards.
Plug.
Link in the description, link in our bio.
Yep. Yeah. Also rewatched it. Mrs. Jigsaw had not seen it, so I watched it with her. We both sat and laughed and cried, and
Cranked it.
No, but it is a fantastic movie. It is put together in a way that I just don't know anybody personally who wouldn't gain enjoyment through either the comedy or through the story that can be very difficult and very challenging, but is also heartwarming somehow. It's just presented in a way, like I said, that I think that it is a perfect movie.
Highly recommend.
Yeah, 100%. But the thing that I was going to jump in with as my last thing was that I went and saw DC's League of Super Pets.
Oh, I've been hearing. I know it's not performing great, but I've heard good things about it.
The theater was empty.
Oh,
but it was very funny.
Yeah, I've heard that it's cute and takes some pot shots at DC stuff and
DC, Marvel. It doesn't hide where it's shooting the guns at, but it also is a pretty big cast of characters. Like Kate McKinnon is in it. Like they gathered a really great group of people to act as these animals.
And John Krasinski is Superman, right?
Mm-hmm. But it's just very funny, and I found it super enjoyable. I would suggest it to watch it. If you want to, you can wait because it'll be on HBO Max at some point in time.
Maybe, who knows?
Yeah, who fucking knows? But I think that it's worth at least a pre-matinee ticket.
High praise.
Cool. Well, I'm gonna squeeze a a quick 2 in right here.
Yeah.
1-2 punch. Since you guys spent a
He knows about that.
little while there on everything
I
everywhere.
just squeezed my 2 outs.
Yeah, so first recommendation I want to give is for the 2020 film directed by Eugene Kotlyarенko called Spree. Have you guys seen Spree?
With
You
Joe
heard about
Keery?
Spree
Joe Keery?
with Joe Keery?
I know what you're talking about, though.
Yeah, so I had been seeing the poster for this movie pop up like for the last couple years and had never checked it out. Decided to give it a watch, and it was a fucking blast. Joe Keery is great in it, playing a very different character from Steve in Stranger Things. It was nice to see. It's nice when you can see that these kids can actually act outside of like the roles. I mean, obviously he's great in Stranger Things, but
Not a Finn Wolfhard situation.
yeah, he basically plays a rideshare guy who drives for a company called Spree, and he is desperate to go viral on his live stream, and he decides that the way he's going to do that is to start picking up people and murdering them. And it gets pretty fucked up, and there's some scenes where I was like, holy shit, I can't believe that just happened. Like, it just keeps escalating and escalating until it's like insane. So highly recommend it. It is quite fun. I think I give it a 3.5. But my top recommendation is a movie from 1955 directed by Charles Laughton called The Night of the Hunter. This movie I gave 5 stars. It was fucking awesome. So this stars Robert Mitchum, who people may recognize. He was in the original Cape Fear as the Robert De Niro character.
Max Cady.
Max Cady, yeah. Plays a equally terrifying, sinister. You can even just see on the little poster here. He's got the love-hate.
They call him
Knuckles.
Yeah, they call those movies Mitchum Ups.
Oh, yeah, makes sense. So the basic premise of this is that in the Deep South, a serial killing preacher hunts 2 young children. I'm from the South. The Deep South. Yeah, a serial killing preacher hunts down 2 young children who know the whereabouts of a stash of money. So basically he meets these kids' father robs a bank. He goes to prison for it. While he's in prison, he meets this preacher who's also in prison for separate crimes. This guy finds out about the money that's hidden somewhere and only the kids know about it. So he like infiltrates the family and like seduces the mother so that he can get close to these kids and find out where the money is.
So
and
it's a Mitch 'em up, stash 'em up?
Yeah. And awesome, great, really well shot black and white film. So I would highly recommend it. And Robert Mitchum gives a great performance.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
Check it out.
Anything else? I'm good there.
Think that about wraps it up for me.
Check out Light and Magic on Disney Plus. It's a documentary about industrial light and magic. If you're into Star Wars and Jurassic Park and all that shit, you're gonna want to check it out. It's a really cool documentary.
Yeah, if you're on the Patreon, you would have heard on the commentary track that he talked about that. But yeah, Mrs. Jig has also watched it and thoroughly enjoyed it. Said that it really enlightens kind of how difficult it was to make effects during those times.
Yeah, and how far we've come.
All right. Cool. Well, that's going to wrap it up for the watch list. Next week, we're going to finish off our little Predator deep dive, and we're going to talk about The Predator, directed by Shane Black.
Mm-hmm.
And then by the time you're hearing this, it should be out on Hulu, the prequel called Prey,
Directed by Dan Trachtenberg.
which I am looking forward to.
You guys
be
gonna
honest
watch
with
the
you.
Comanche version?
I don't know.
Oh yeah, because it's in. You can watch it in that language with subtitles, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's one version that's predominantly in English with Comanche with subtitles, and then there's one that's basically the reverse.
I think that I'm gonna go the Comanche version. I think it'll grab me more.
It'll
What are
be
you
an
gonna do?
interesting experience. I'll probably go with the Comanche version unless I'm too sleepy and don't want to read that many subtitles. But yeah, if it's good enough, I'll watch both.
Oh, shit. Yeah, I hope it's good. I mean, it doesn't have a lot to compete with.
Yeah, it's getting great pre-buzz, so hopefully that means that it's good.
We've seen some pre-buzz fail us
Yeah.
in recent times, but we've also seen some pre-buzz that we were like, how the fuck does that even make sense? That looks terrible. And then really enjoyed the Black Phone. So,
But I mean, it's dropping straight to Hulu, so if it's bad, no skin off my knob, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was already paying for it anyway.
Wow. All right. Let's end it there, huh? Before we embarrass ourselves more. See you next week. Thanks for listening and or watching.
Don't fuck with the audience, okay? They expect you to do the standard sign off for the show.
I've been down.
Jesus.
No, we'll see you next week. Thanks again. Appreciate any listens or views, and share with everybody you know, including children. And I think it's suitable for all ages. Maybe your dogs while you're at work, whatever works.
Yeah.
But I've been Tone.
I've been John.
And I've been pushing too many pencils. Internet darling Anthony.
Dylan, you son of a bitch.
See you next time.
Keep it creepy.
For exclusive episodes, early access, merch, and to support the show, head over to patreon.com/Porcelain Peak.
Thanks to all our patrons for the support, and special thanks to producers Chuck, Rob, Ashley, and Michael.
You can find Porcelain Peak on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn.
Wherever you listen, don't forget to rate, review, share, and subscribe so you never miss a thrilling episode.
Special thanks to Roger Jackson for introducing the show, and to Jeff For Real for composing the Porcelain Peak opening and closing song.
All content and episodes are written, produced, designed, and edited by the Porcelain Peak team, consisting of Anthony Perez, John Brasher, and Anthony Silva.
This has been here words for Weirdos Production.